Let me know that love is all around me. Yes, yes, yes. Need to adjust my camera here a little bit because I am chopping myself up. Hello, hello, Marion. Nice to see you. Susan is in the house. So excited for tonight's show. I am too. Areta is in the house. Ricky and Behood. Yeah, Ricky is multitasking right now. So I told her she cannot multitask when we are doing a show. So anyway, good evening. Let me just make sure the sound is doing. So those of you in the chat room, please let me know that you have sound. And then that way it feels like it anyway. Let me just adjust my mic over here. So, good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon, good day to you. You are listening to Soul Fulfilling with Rickie Byars. I am Ade Anifowoshe. I am stepping in, sitting in, standing in for Rickie tonight because she is traveling. And I feel like a guest, even though I've been here on a regular basis. And as I've announced before, I won't be here on a weekly basis. Probably, I don't know, sometimes once a month, maybe not, because I'm doing some different things. She'll be back next week live. Right now, she is in um, what is it? The Empower Festival and then the Posse Fest. So, being in, I like that. So, let me know you can hear me. Can you hear me? Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, Meg. I appreciate that. Thank you. I just saw that, Sue. Thank you, thank you, thank you, because that's very important. It's a little bit different to start the show without Ricky singing and me being in the background and flashing all the comments. So I'm multitasking. Speaking of multitasking, right? I'm multitasking. So bear with me. Rashid is gonna be joining me soon, and then I'm gonna do my best to do my best. All right. How's everyone doing today? I hope you're not too sad that Ricky's not here. Some of you may say, well, I don't know. I think I'm going to log off if Ricky's not here. But you don't want to do that because Rashid and I, we've been cooking some stuff. We've been stirring it up. When we weren't in the same physical kitchen, we were in the kitchen of consciousness. So we've been sending messages, ingredients to one another telepathically. Let me see what's going on in the chat room. Rashid is doing some technical stuff, so he'll be here real soon. Laurie, and and Chef Laurie did it again. Now, you did not come in at the same time, I don't think. Yeah, Rashid is stepping in. Well, actually, I think you did because Chef Laurie said, yes, we have sound. And Laurie came right behind and said, good evening. I don't know how you guys do it, but I think you might want to use that to your advantage. You have some kind of chemistry there. That's right. Ricky's at Unity Village. I was trying to say that, but it just. Thank you, Chef. You love me. It's nice to know that I am loved. I don't feel so alone. Roslyn is in the house. Quinn is in the house. Bree is in the house. Bree said, we are delighted. Ooh, I love that. To be here with you and Rashid. I feel delighted to know that. It's kind of interesting, really. You know, some of you know, if not all of you, I have my own podcast. It's done radio for so many years, internet radio, and I feel comfortable. I feel comfortable in front of the camera. That took a while. That took a long time because normally I'm just like, oh my God, people are looking at everything that I'm doing, seeing everything that I don't see on my face. But now the camera is my friend. Henrietta said, I forgot Ricky won't be here. So does that mean you're going to leave? Don't leave. Please don't leave. Maxine is in the house. So I'm pretty much comfortable with the camera. But today, well, tonight, to morning, because it's a little after 2 a.m. in UK, there's still a part of me that feels like something is missing. But I think more it's just that rhythm with being with Ricky. You know, she's there, does her thing. There's a way that, we just dance together. But it's different right now. So I'm feeling that. Rashid, I see your camera is not on. I am ready to bring you on when you are ready. So yeah, how's everyone doing today? What are you creating? What are you visioning for? What are you intending before you go to bed? If you're listening live, but if you're listening at your live, meaning after the show is live, but it's no longer live, but it's live because you're replaying it and it's live to you. What are you intending for today? Thank you, Susan. A friend of mine said to me about the camera, she said, when you're doing your show, I just love the way you talk as if you're talking to everybody, and then it's just like it's just you in there. And all that came with just trust in the process. Actually, it was me talking to myself, being comfortable with the camera, but more so recognizing what is mine to do, what is my work, why am I doing what I'm doing, and it took a growing in so that I had to grow into it. So it's just recognizing, um, you know, forget what you think about the camera, forget what you think about the microphone, forget what you think about the headset. Just do what you need to do. So I had to focus on what I'm doing, why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm doing what I'm doing, all of that. And then after a while, it's like, oh, yeah, there's a camera there. And it's a sort of playfulness as well. Like, you see me, I don't really see you. And it's all part of the growth. So, yes. I read it. I know, I was messing with you. Oh, you didn't say hello to me initially, Areta? Oh my God, I feel so offended now. I feel so. Oh, let me check. Sorry, I got my hands in front of the camera. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm not offended. Because if one person says hello to me, that means everyone is saying hello. Because there are people who are listening, who are watching, that don't chat, and there are those who are always here. I'm checking my phone to make sure there is no message from Rashid. But anyway, so what are you intending for? What do you want to create in your life? How are you allowing your soul to be fulfilled? Rickie and I, we started this show over a year ago now. This is episode 83. I don't know if there's been a time. There's probably been a couple of weeks that have been missed. But other than that, Rickie's here. I'm here with Rickie, or sometimes just Rickie. And Rickie's going to continue from now on. That's right. I'm doing what I do, Maxine. Maxine Laverne. And it's when I think about it, it's like, oh, there's so much. I really trying to hold myself back because we only have a few hours, but I'm gonna trust the process. That Rashid will be here. When I reflect back at the beginning of this show, the conversation I had with Rickie, it was just, when I catch an idea, I know what is real about that. There's something in me that aligns with it, that resonates with it. I go with it. And Rickie said, "Well, let's just we'll just see what happens. You can be back there producing for me and just bringing up stuff." I'm like, okay, because I knew my mission is I'm here for God, you know. Maybe sometimes I bring you on and you talk, or you come in. Rickie. If you're doing stuff, well, those of you who work with Rickie, we can say, well, let's see what happens. And I'm like, hey, I work well in that situation. And then if you ever work with Rickie, and she said, oh, just coming over here, you can stand at the back, sit at the back, or just be on my side. You better come prepared. Because while you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm just sitting there supporting Rickie, saying, so what do you think? And you're like, oh, really? I'm supposed to say something? And it's just grown, and we have a great chemistry. And for me, it is a blessing, an honor. I feel so grateful because Rickie was and is part of my spiritual practice. And not even just my spiritual practice, but my spiritual development and the times when I was struggling, trying to find myself, understand, when I was at Hillside International Truth Center, and I'm hearing the teachers, the visiting guests, express truth in a way that resonates with me, but I wasn't quite there. And I'm struggling to figure out to do, to just live what I'm hearing when I listen to Michael Bernard Beckwith, Ian Van Zandt. And I'm like, yes, I feel those words. I know it, but somehow I couldn't translate it. And the music supported me. The music for me, Rickie's music, it's like, it's almost like that perfect ingredient, like butter. It just makes everything like it's maybe you have a special meal that you make, and it's like you just know you have to have a certain amount of garlic in it. Or I like peppery stuff, hot stuff. I see you, Rashid. I'm gonna come to you in a minute. So Rickie's song and music is the one that just kind of just it just blends all what I'm hearing from the pulpit, from the stage, from the conferences, what I'm dealing with. It was a bridge. So to work with Rickie like this, it's actually just like, okay, I am so grateful. I'm grateful. So Rashid is here, and you may want to adjust your camera, but I want to tell people a little bit. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Just tell you a little bit about Rashid Lanie, who most of you know him, if not all of you. He's a composer, pianist, and activist. He has released 6 albums. You can find out more about him by going to rashidlanie.com. Lanie, L-A. Well, some of you may spell Rashid differently. Rashid, Lanie, ALANIE.com. He's internationally acclaimed and known and celebrated. He shared stage with John Legend, Hugh Masekela, Angelique Kijo, Alicia Keys, Shakira, Will I Am. One of the ones that when I was looking at their website recently, I was like, what? Ray Parker Jr. All of you old heads know who that is. And if you don't know, you're missing out. Ray Parker. What's the song that I loved when I was in Nigeria that I used to pray over? It just disappeared. It was going to come back to me. But anyway, he is well known in South Africa not only for his musical accomplishments, but also for his political activism in the fight against apartheid. In 1992, he was commissioned to write The People Want Mandela, a song celebrating Nelson Mandela's release from prison, and was personally honored with 11 others at a press conference following Mandela's release. He has spoken at the United Nations on behalf of South African musicians and have served as the vice president of the South African Musicians Alliance. While in South Africa, his band, the Rashid Lanie Jazz Trio, performed regularly at music festivals and on South Africa television. He is honored to have performed for the Dalai Lama at the 1999 Sacred Music Festival. He currently lives in Los Angeles, and he was there studying University of Southern California, and then after that, his life blew up. It blew up in a good way, and so, ladies and gentlemen, as I say on my podcast, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, psychics and skeptics, physical beings and non-physical beings, help me welcome Rashid Lanie, my brother, my friend, myself. I am so happy you're here. Hey, Rashid.
Hey, I'm so welcome to be out there. And hello, everybody out there that's listening in.
All your fans, all your people lining up.
My beautiful people.
So I got several questions for you. Well, some of the questions are like in the background of my consciousness because it's going to come from this conversation that we're having. But there is one question I must ask you. I don't know if anybody's curious, but maybe they ask you that question. What is the deal with the bandana, black and white bandana? That's something. It's almost like your logo. You sometimes have a black hat on, but you have the bandana on with white in it. What's that about? What does that symbolize?
I don't know if you know Thelonious Monk. If people were familiar with Thelonious Monk, Thelonious Monk always had a hat on. And hi, Julia, hi everybody. The thing, I think it's basically started with creating a brand, a look, an image that when you saw me, or when you think of me, you always think of me either. Throughout the years, I've had different looks, like with the bandana. I mean now, but then I used to have a beret, and then I used to have various types of other hats, but I always had something covering my head. And it's a very sacred part of me, one which I only share in very intimate moments with a very special person. And
we are special. This is a sacred space. This is a soulful feeling space. This is a be-hood. But I also understand there's some things that just need. But
yeah, but
if you feel like sharing it, don't hold back.
Yeah. No, but it's also it did. I mean, I did feel a familiarity with it based on the religion I came from, which is Islam, and in Islam they usually cover, I mean, the heads.
Yes.
But but that was when I was still a practicing a Muslim, which I'm not at the moment. And and I just feel that the head region is the area of the crown chakra where you allow, I mean, divine energies to pour through, or your higher self, to pour through, and I feel kind of protected when I have my bandana on, that I'm not allowing in any unwanted energies or entities in my space or aura, so to speak.
I hear that. And you talk about that, it makes me think of the Nigerian Yoruba tradition, where it's so hard when people say tradition, religion. Ifa for me is not a tradition; it's a way of being. It's a way that my ancestors communicated with their ancestors, with my ancestors, as well as with God, because God was seen everywhere and everything. So anyway, some in the Western world, people say Ifa religion. And the head represents the destiny. Ori, which means head, it represents your destiny. It's your connection to your guides, to the Orisha that's guiding you. So I definitely understand that.
Oh yeah, thank you.
So thank you for trusting us enough to share that. We're going to hold that sacred in our heart.
Thank you. But it doesn't mean that if I mean, there are very, very rare moments that I would take it off, but it's just something that that I connect with. I mean, and that's basically it. Yeah.
And you see that we both got the memo. When we read the memo, we were in black.
That's right.
So let's journey into your life, into your consciousness, into your mind, into how you see the world. And you were here with me maybe about a month ago when Rickie was traveling. And I remember you talking about your relationship with the keyboard, and the keyboard said, you betrayed me because you were doing activist work. So the question I want to ask, at what age, when did you know that the keyboard is your soulmate or spirit guide? That you know that you and this keyboard have a relationship. When did it happen for you that you recognize, oh yeah, this is a vehicle to express what I'm here to do?
When my first contact with, the keyboard was actually observing my dad play, his keyboard. And he was an accordionist, and then he moved to organ, and then but he wanted to. His real love was actually the piano, but because of the lack of funds in my grandparents or my father's family, it was difficult for my grandfather to purchase a piano for him. So the first thing he did was to buy one for me, and so vicariously he then began to live his dreams through me as a pianist.
Wow.
But he continued to be a keyboard player, and until he made his own transition. But he was such a great musician himself, a self-taught musician. But the influence came through my grandfather and my great-grandfather, who was a singer as well. So in a way, I inherited these genes through my dad, and as well as the keyboard playing. And initially I rebelled because I really wanted to be a guitar player. You know, I wanted to be a guitar player. And,
you didn't want the gift that came naturally. You were like, no, heck, forget that. I don't care if my great grandfather was a musician. I want to do my own thing. And
exactly.
life is like, he don't know. He's young. He'll learn.
Yeah, and ironically enough, my that wasn't my dad's first wish for me either. He wanted me to be a singer. And you know, and then and my dad being my dad, he was into Frank Sinatra and he was into Tom Jones. And there was one particular song of Tom Jones that he liked, "With These Hands." You know, he wanted me to sing, and I was a little kid. I was like a little bit. I was like, "What's my dad doing to me? He's gonna embarrass me."
This is abuse.
And I totally rebelled, and I was a mama's boy, and my mom protected me from having to continue something that I felt very traumatized by. And eventually, my dad settled for the piano, and in his mind, he thought, well, if you studied the piano. And the piano, you'll be able to understand and know all the other. I think I'm going to take my glasses off because it seems to be reflecting. Is that
okay? Either way, you still look divine. So as long as whatever you're comfortable
so I'm going to leave it on because I can see better. Okay, so so that's when my love affair with the piano began, and I had the most phenomenal teachers, and it was through their love of the piano and also their love of me, and the support they gave me that really created a connection with the piano that I don't think I otherwise would have had. But it was when I was in high school, and there was a huge political upheaval in South Africa. And it didn't matter what you loved or were distracted by, this political upheaval took center stage in all our lives. And as fate would have it, I became one of the leaders. In this upheaval, and I just happened to be elected the valedictorian of my school. I was the president of the Students' Representative Council, and so I had nowhere to run. I had to take center stage, and I had to lead, and people were looking toward me as a leader, and I got involved with all kinds of campaigns, rallies, protests, marching, you name it. And very soon, I got into the radar of the authorities. In our country, we had a thing called the SB, which was Special Branch, which is similar to the FBI here in America. And eventually they came knocking on my door.
Wow.
While we were still having supper one night, and my dad went to open the door, and he looked at these two gentlemen and asked, "Can I help you?" "Yes, we've come to fetch Rashid Lanie." And I said, "Who are you and why don't you fetch him?" "Sir, we represent the Special Branch, and we have government orders to pick up your son. He's been involved in nefarious and political political."
Was that also because protesting was a crime? Was it?
Yes, illegal? Yeah, gathering. There was illegal. You're not allowed to gather illegally. That was but also, when eventually I went to this sort of headquarters of the Special Branch, which we call John Foster Square. And John Foster was a previous prime minister, very strong supporter of the apartheid regime, and and when they bring you to that particular prison, that's where most of the political prisoners would be detained without trial, and
So you were imprisoned?
Yes, they detained me and tortured me there for a period of 3 months.
Wow.
And And I mean, quite a few times it's like 3 times I nearly lost my life. I won't go into the graphic details of the torture, but yeah, it was a very a very huge sort of journey of spiritual journey for me, just going through that particular process. And I remembered when I was in prison. I mean, most of my handlers and the people that were torturing me, they kind of had these deep set blue eyes, and they looked so Germanic, you know. And it was, you know, going in. I never ever fought. I never got involved with activities that I got involved with, because I believed in black power or supported one race over another. I just basically wanted to stand in support of people that were oppressed. And it just so happened that the black people in our country were oppressed, and I was going to stand with them. And now, you know, in the bigger picture of spiritual consciousness, whenever one person oppresses another, they are both involved in a form of oppression. Exactly. The one that's actually the one that's feeling the physical aspect.
The oppressor is oppressed by its oppressing.
Yeah, exactly. So there's different forms of oppression happening right there. And so it comes back to the thing that I spoke to about the last time when I said about the one. When we say that we all came from the same source, the fact that there's different expressions of that source does not take away from the veracity of its essence and its source, you know.
Yes.
And so when you find people either in your neighborhood, or let's just look at your body. If there's an organ in your body that's unhealthy or that's in pain, your entire body is feeling that.
That's right. That's right.
You know, so if you are oppressing a people within, in your family or in your neighborhood or your city or your nation or your country, the world, people are feeling it all over. And with technology and the media and the way that it is today, I mean, it's like in the New York Minute, you feel the pain and you feel the energy, and you might even want to deny that it exists, but you cannot deny the fact that vibrationally something is making you feel not well. Okay, so
basically what you're saying is, if you give hell, you're gonna catch hell.
Yeah, you're gonna catch hell. It always has that impact. Yeah. And so after after many lawyers were fighting for my release, and I then was filled with hatred that I never knew, which was I hated white people. I didn't want to see white people. I hated the idea of white people because of the way that I was tortured and traumatized in that prison.
Right.
And so all I wanted to do was, I just wanted to be wrapped up in my mom's arms. I wanted her love, and I just wanted to feel the comfort of being close to my mom's heart and her love. And I remembered they released me in the afternoon, and I knew my mom was still at work. Both my mom and dad were at work, so if I went home, there was just no way that I would get that kind of attention that I was seeking at that particular moment. So I thought, well, my girlfriend, I'm going to go to my girlfriend.
I'll go for the substitute. I need to be loved here.
Yes. That's right. Yes. I'm going to my girlfriend. And so when I arrived at my girlfriend's house, I knocked on the door. The door opened, and I saw this beautiful white face staring at me, filled with so much love. And just tears were rolling down her eyes. And immediately, all the negative, the trauma that I had experienced, and the thoughts that that I had created in my consciousness about my experience basically evaporated and fizzled into nothingness, because the love that I saw coming from this white face was my girlfriend. This was the woman that loved me, and I realized in that moment the futility of what hatred does to us, and I immediately was able to transmute and transcend. I mean, that entire 3 months of pain in that particular moment, and since then I've made it a mantra, a principle of mine, never to allow whatever pain that's inflicted on me to be labeled or to give it a color. Because
so let me ask you something. So when you were imprisoned and you were being tortured by white people,
right,
and over that time you develop a hatred because of how you were treated,
right.
So at that time you were in a relationship with your girlfriend even though you were imprisoned, right?
Yes.
Did you have thoughts about thinking you were going to leave her because of what you were experiencing and the hate and the anger that you were feeling, or she was a different kind of a white person because you're in a relationship with her?
Well, I'm going to qualify the white face. Ironically, my girlfriend's white face was a recessive gene that came from her white grandmother. And my girlfriend was actually kind of Indian, but she looks, when you see her, she's really white. Okay. And so when I saw her, I mean, I realized the futility of putting color on hatred. And basically, prior to going to prison, my girlfriend represented love and joy. Why would that change while I was there? I mean, I was in so much pain while I was there. I didn't even honestly have time to think about who I was going to hate or not hate. It was only after I was released that, I mean, this release came to me, and I felt this hatred. But actually, as I said, it was dissolved at the time when I saw my girlfriend's smile.
And what is interesting as I hear it is, you said when you were there, you were looking, your desire is to just be with your mother, to be in her bosom, to be in her arms.
Yes.
That's how it's like, there was a desire, a want, a need for love. Yes. And because they were not home, your calling for the love came through your girlfriend, and it healed you. It's like I say about my sisters in the UK when I came back here after being deported and being in the detention center for 40 days and 40 nights. By the time I came back, I was like, what happened to me? I mean, even while I was in there, I was like, why am I here? But when I came back, I used to say that my sisters loved the hell out of me. That hellish experience that I had, they loved it.
Not the hell out of me.
They loved the hell out of me. They're like, we got you. My younger sister was feeding me. My stomach was getting bigger. I couldn't ask for anything. They were just giving it to me. I was like, oh, this is not so bad. Yeah. So it seems to me that you kind of went through the same experience where love came through your girlfriend that literally loved the hatred, the pain, the injustice out of you.
Oh, absolutely. And then, I mean, as the days passed by since that moment, I mean, I had so many more spiritual awakenings. I mean, and I realized that, oh my God, first of all, Rashid, you cannot save anybody except yourself. I mean, you have to listen to the words of Jesus, which is, follow in my footprints. And you can be like me or much more than me. Okay. I mean, during that period of my life, I also had what they called a savior complex dreams, where I found myself on a ship and I'm trying to save all the people on the ship while the ship is sinking, and everybody's going to be sinking. I found myself on the streets of St. Petersburg during the wars of the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks. and I'm trying to I mean, to save the people from killing themselves, and basically just, I mean, fighting against oppression, and and authoritarianism, dictatorship. It was all this savior, I mean, complex kind of psychological, um, I guess, I don't know if one can call them diseases, but obsessions that
Or
prevent
maybe
us from.
even a mark. When you talked about covering your head, Ori
Yes.
in Ifa means destiny. So I'm wondering if there was an inner knowing that you're here. I know what you mean about not, you can't save anybody, you got to save yourself. However, but there's that thing, there's that mark in your DNA, your genes, that you're here to support humanity, which you've always been doing. I mean, so I'm wondering maybe that's part of it as well, right?
Well, I mean, the thing is that, I mean, when you actually step into your hero's journey, because I mean that's what we all, I mean, called
Yes.
upon to step into that journey.
Hmm.
I saw a wonderful film called 1917, and I really strongly, I mean, suggest people watch. I mean, a movie called 1917, which was about
1917.
about the First World War, about how, I mean, this one character is, I mean, is ordered to go and warn a two battalions, I mean, of, I think, 1,600 men, that, I mean, they march towards a specific point, to fight the Nazis. Is actually, I mean, was actually a trap that was set by the Nazis for them, and that they all were going to march to their death. And the only way that the British generals knew how to prevent this from happening is to send a soldier to warn them. And this particular soldier's brother was one of the lieutenants in that battalion, in one of those battalions. So they knew he would have a vested interest in actually getting that message to them. Okay, so he chose one of his buddies to go with him, and his buddies, he was a hero type kind of person. He won a medal for some activity that, or bravery, I mean, that he had displayed, I mean, in one of the battles, but he gave it away. He wasn't interested in the medals. He wasn't interested in the accolades. So he went with his buddy, but he was a very reluctant supporter of his buddy's journey. Okay, and and okay, so I don't want to ruin the film for everybody, but the point was that this was supposed to be the hero of the journey, but his buddy ended up being the hero in the journey, and I won't tell you how and why that happened. And so we find ourselves in situations sometimes that we least expect to find ourselves, and then the true calling, the hero journey, makes itself known to you. Okay, and so I'm saying that I'm here not to save anybody else does not mean that I'm here not to support, not to nurture, not to provide an example. Because I mean, saving, I mean, when you actually saving yourself, you are setting the example. You are helping humanity in ways that you never else could have, by your words, by your threats, because your action is speaking, millions of words in that
Yes.
direction.
Yes, yes. There's something that I read one time on the show that I did with Ricky, and I'll see if I pull it up. Um, I'm going to play a song here because it reminds me of your journey so far. What you're sharing with us is that whole idea of rising from the ashes,
Yes. Yes.
rising up, and really that horrible experience that you went through, to me, is almost like where your gift, what you came here to do, was embodied, was integrated. And,
Yeah.
you know, trauma, pain, struggle, suffering, if we are open to it, can help us see clearly. Now, when we're
Yes.
going through it, we just want it to stop. But with
Yes.
the right mind, we can actually take that experience to see clearly, to see why we're here, what is ours to do, what's our gift, and the whole idea of pass it on, which is the song I want to play now. I'm going to play a little bit of that because part of soul fulfilling is telling a story and listen to music, and your story for me exemplifies that whole journey. I need to turn this up a little bit, so it's not playing yet, but it will.
It is. It's playing.
In
All right.
my heart, burning embers of love. There's a fire in my heart, burning embers of love. There's a fire in my heart for the God in all creation. A fire in my heart for the God in all creation. Will you catch this fire? Will you burn with its heat? Rise from your ashes and pass it on. Rise from your ashes and pass it on. Yeah, 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 yeah. Sing it, mama. There's a flame in my soul. Come on. Burning embers of peace with God's vision as my side. Life's a prayer that does not cease. All right, Georgia. There's a flame in my soul for the God in all creation. A flame in my soul for the God in all creation. Will you catch this fire? Will you burn with its heat? Yeah. Rise from your ashes and pass it on. Won't you rise from your ashes and pass it on? Ooh, pass it on. Melt your heart's desire into this flame of love. Your
Surrender into the fire. Pain and struggle and suffering is hot. It will burn you up. You can resist it, but it's still going to burn you up. And when we just surrender to the fire, we have no choice but to pass it on, because we're no longer, you were not the same person who was arrested while you were having supper. When you came out, you were a different person.
Yes.
I want to read this thing that I found several months ago that I think it speaks to what you're talking about. And then we're going to fast forward to, how you saying yes to why you're here, how that is showing up now. So I'm going to have this playing in the background. So this little note that I found online is called, I wanted to change the world. When I was a young man, I wanted to change the world. Okay, let me turn this down a little bit. because the music and everything is so like ooh, but it goes on. It's too long. We can't play the whole thing. So when I was a young man, I wanted to change the world. I found it was difficult to change the world. So I tried to change my nation. When I found I couldn't change the nation, I began to focus on my town. I couldn't change the town, and as an older man, I tried to change my family. Now, as an old man, I realize the only thing I can change is myself. And suddenly, I realized that if long ago I had changed myself, I could have made an impact on my family. My family and I could have had an impact on our town. Their impact could have changed the nation, and I could indeed have changed the world. So that's credited to the unknown monk, 1100 AD. Whoever he is unknown. And that's kind of what I hear in your story.
Absolutely. That resonates with me on every cell of my body. That I come to that realization that, when I change, everything around me changes. The way the way people respond to me is because of the way that I had changed. Being proactive and responsive is far more effective than being reactionary.
Yes.
And so to really understand the kind of oppression that you are experiencing has to begin with the way you feel within yourself, with the way that you relate to yourself. What kind of friend are you to yourself? What kind of lover are you to yourself? What kind of teacher are you to yourself? And when you embrace this compassion for your own shortcomings, for your own limitations,
Yes.
and your own mistakes, you can so easily see how many of us, or the people beyond your physical space, are caught up in exactly the same kind of challenges that you are having internally. And that brings you to a better understanding and an easier place to forgive others, and to understand in the journeys that other people are traveling, and to give them that space to travel in the directions that will bring more balance and harmony within themselves.
Yes, yes. Do you feel like you get to do that through your music now?
I do. My music has always been, an incredible springboard, a platform for me to truly connect deeply with inside myself. So much to the point, even when I had friends, and in fact, when I've performed with so many bands, a lot of people could never understand why I don't smoke weed, why I don't drink alcohol, or why I don't take drugs. And I said, because I'm experiencing such a high, a natural high within what I'm doing, that I absolutely don't feel, I don't have any need to do those things.
Yes.
And the answers, and my friends would say, but if you take LSD, if you take coke, it's gonna expand your brain, and you're gonna see things. I've read the autobiography of Stevie Van Zandt, and he was telling me about from Bruce Springsteen band, and he was talking about how they were taking coke and LSD, and how it was. People were claiming that it was opening areas of the brain, and they were seeing new kind of vistas of imagination and creativity that they never thought were possible. But he said he never actually, he tried a few times, but it never really got him to those places that his musical buddies was saying, and so he stopped doing it. And that is and that is basically with me. It's not that I didn't try a few weed puffs, or I didn't take a few drinks or whatever the case may be. It's just that it just didn't add to my life. It didn't add benefit, you know.
Right.
And so I say, I'm not saying that I'm against it or against it for other people. I don't even judge it. In fact, what's happened to me is that I've reached a level through my experiences thus far in my life where the issue of judgment is so remote in my consciousness. And I allow people to be who and what they want to be. Provided that I can be in my space to express and be what I need to be in that particular space. But and I find that people feel more comfortable being around me because I don't have that sense of judgment on how they dress, what they do, what they imbibe, or what they think. And so it opens a space for much more authentic interchange and exchange.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hear you. The deeper we go, the more we work with self, not just on self, the more we discover that something within us. When I think of your story, it's like your greatness was calling you up and calling you out. The fact that you came here to be a musician, it was passed on to you from your ancestors, and you wanted to do something else. But your father is like, nope, I wanted to play the piano. I didn't get to play the piano. You are going to carry this legacy forward. You're going to do this. And then you said you were chosen to be the leader. You had no choice. It's like your life was saying, you're here to do great things. You're a healer. You may not know it right now. And you're going to go through hell, but you're going to end up in heaven.
Oh, absolutely. And if I may just relate one more story about, I felt so in love with America, but I was really concerned about, the indigenous people of this nation, the Native American people of America, and so much so that I decided that I would start going to sweat lodges with the Lakota tribe, and then eventually I decided I was going to go on my own vision quest. But prior to that, I traveled to. I've done ceremonial work with the Mount Shasta Indians. In Mount Shasta, I've been in Nevada, and with the Navajo, with the Cree. Nations of people, and then when I did my vision quest, I had to go through a 6-month preparation. To get ready for my journey up into the St. Gabriel Mountains, where they basically, on a weekly basis, I had to do sweat lodges and cleansing and purification, because this was a sacred journey that I was going on as prescribed by the laws of the indigenous people of this nation, and they made me prepare. I had to get different fabric, but prior to actually, going on that journey, the Lakota tribe chief told me before I begin, if the ancestors want me to go on this journey, I have to get an eagle's feather. If I cannot find an eagle's feather, because abusing or killing eagles in America is illegal. So that meant that if you actually are able to acquire a feather of an eagle, means that you acquired from a dead eagle, which you could be liable for. So I was like, but how much? So I'm thinking of all of those things, and I'm thinking, but how can you tell me to acquire a feather when it's so illegal? How am I going to get? Said, I'm sorry, that's the condition. That's the only condition that you'll be able to go on this journey. And so I was like thrown into this wild, sort of a confusion of how I was going to acquire this eagle's feather. So one day, I was preparing for my journey. I used to go to Manchester. There was a time I used to go to Manchester and perform at the Wesak festivals, which was the celebration of the Buddha during the months of May. And I used to perform up there with one of the pioneers of that festival, Joshua Stone, Dr. Joshua Stone. And so once while I was taking a break, somebody was talking about a Vision Quest or something. I said, oh my God, I'm trying to go on the Vision Quest, but I can't go because I need this eagle's feather, and I don't even know where to begin looking, And unbeknownst to me, there were two ladies standing behind me, and I wasn't even aware that they were listening in on the conversation. The following day, they came to the festival. And they introduced themselves. Rashid, we've been listening to your music, and just wanted to thank you for what you brought to our festival. But we have something for you. And I said, what? And I said, can you just walk a few steps with us in this direction? I'm very intrigued.
Am I getting kidnapped?
And they said to me, Rashid, we overheard your conversation yesterday. Please don't think that we were inquisitive, but we couldn't help but hear what you had to say. And we brought this for you. And they had it covered in a beautiful cotton cloth. And they opened it, and they said, here's your eagle's feather. Go on to your Vision Quest. Oh my God. It was truly, one of the greatest blessings that happened to me ever. But after I'd done all the preparations and everything, and I went on my journey, the elders took me into the mountain, and I got very heavily into the chanting. Native American chanting and prayer, and so I was like, okay, first day you fast, you don't eat anything. Second day, I'm like, okay, so what's my message? What am I doing here? What's the purpose of my life? What's the person of my future? And third day, now they put me, in the section of the mountain where there were trees that had branches that created sort of a cove, a cave of sorts. And on the top of the roof of this cave of branches was a round opening there. And as I was contemplating my life and future, all of a sudden, a hummingbird came there in the afternoon. And the hummingbird was flapping its wings, and I looked at this hummingbird. I'm like, wow. And it stood there for what seemed like 5-10 minutes. But this seemed for a long period. And I'm thinking and I'm looking, what's that all about? And then it dawned upon me that the message was, Rashid, whatever it is that you do in this world, do it with joy.
Do it with joy. Yes.
Do whatever it is that you seek in the world, do it with joy. Embrace everything you do in your life with joy.
Yes. You brought that to the on the time on the dot. That's beautiful. I didn't want to cut you, because I want to also share something, and then I want to ask you like maybe a word that you have for the listeners. But that is so powerful, because for me, joy is love. Love is joy. And when we do it with love, when we do it with joy, it returns us back to ourselves, and we're powerful. We open up a power within ourselves, an authentic power that we don't have to know the how, what's going to happen next.
Yes.
And just because we have questions about, I don't know what to do, or feeling like, what do I do, doesn't mean we're not on the path. And I appreciate you. I want to read something real quick, and then I'm not going to say what I'm going to ask, because I want it to be on the spot.
Okay.
So we are getting ready to release this conversation. Thank you, everyone. But I want to share today's daily thoughts. Oh, you're welcome. Don't go anywhere, though.
Okay.
Today's daily thoughts, and I'm sharing today's daily thoughts because I wrote the daily thoughts. Daily thoughts is a daily inspirational published by Hillside International Truth Center. And as I listened to Rashid, it's like our spirit was saying, go get it, because it's really about integrating the spirit and the humanity. I won't go too much into it. I'm just going to read it because I didn't even have plans to read it until I listened to Rashid's story. So today, Wednesday, September 14th, 2022, the affirmation is, I am open to new thoughts. I am open to new thoughts. And here's the rest of it. Rumi said, look past your thoughts so you may drink the pure nectar of this moment. That's his quote. What if life is so much more, that was his quote, and this is me writing, just so I make that clear. What if life is so much more simple than we have created it to be? What if our main responsibility is to move through life without worry? We are already worthy. Nothing can change that. God knows what we desire before we ask. God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and everywhere present. In truth, all our needs are already met. I died to my old self. I died to old thinking. With every death comes a renewal, a rebirth. I welcome a new way of being, a new way of thinking, and a new way of accepting, a new acceptance of fulfilling experiences. I give God full control over my life and affairs. I appoint God as the executor of my life. I kick back and live in the moment. Thank you, order in me, through me, as me, around me, through the Christ within. When we go through the adversity, when we go through the imprisonment, because sometimes we feel like we're imprisoned. And if we surrender to the love, it connects us with joy. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Rashid, before you go and before you grow, give us a word. What word would you want to share with the listeners? Those who are listening live or those who are listening to the replay? What word would you want us to contemplate?
One word.
Yes.
Well, one word.
You sound like me. When people tell me one word, I'm like, what word?
Well, perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
Perseverance.
Mm-hmm. My brother, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining me. When we were figuring out who to join me for the show, we went through different people, and I'm like, yeah. But then as I said, let me think about it. She said, she'll think about it. And then like 24 hours later, I was thinking, the person I really want to be in conversation with is Rashid. So I called her. She said, yeah, let's do it. And I feel like there's a book that you're not writing.
Hey, amen.
We're looking
Amen.
I'm looking forward to reading it because there's so much in your story.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing your story and reminding us to return to joy, and that joy helps us to persevere, to keep moving forward.
Yes.
Without joy.
Thank you so much for being such an awesome host and creating such a wonderful space for me to share, and for everybody with your wonderful comments and being so wonderful as you all are and have been in my life. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, my brother. Thank you for doing what you do. Appreciate you.
So welcome. Love you, Rickie.
I know, right? She's probably watching quietly. Now, if Rickie was watching, she won't be quiet about it. She would have said something.
Okay.
All right.
Amen. You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you, beautiful people. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget, do whatever you do with joy. If you're angry, do it with joy. If you're pissed, do it with joy. The joy would dissolve that energy. And whatever you do, however you do it, remember to rest in God and say amen. That will recharge you and you persevere and you become resilient and keep spreading the joy. See you next time whenever I'm back here. I don't know when that's going to be, but Rickie will be back next week. Peace and blessings.
Let our joy be so triumphant. that we rest in God and say